Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Veteran Solidarity. As I've mentioned before, I'm at the Veterans Administration Hospital on average of 2 times a week. I get very used to the rigmarole of going to the VA hospital and just desperately trying to find my appointments. Again, I'm visually impaired. It's not so easy for me. But in one more recent appointment, I went and I was again desperately trying to find my appointment. And a kind hearted VA employee took a break from his very busy schedule to just come over, and he approached me in exactly the right way with his hands open, palms facing, and he just said, "How are you doing, brother? My name's Bruce. Is there something I can do to help you?" I said, "Why, yes. Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm trying to find my appointment." He says, "Where's the appointment at?" I tell him, and he helps me find the appointment. I was so appreciative of his effort that I chose to invite him on to Veteran Solidarity just as a reflection of the VA employee base who are largely reflective of Bruce. Bruce, please say hi to the Veteran Solidarity listeners.
Good morning, all. How's my brethren doing today?
They're doing well, but I was very intrigued. I was impressed, really, to learn that you were hired to the VA to do your job to care for veterans because you're a veteran yourself and it's in your heart to help your family. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now,
I saw the trials and tribulations we were dealing with when we first met. It's been over a year now. We've had this communication and we bonded really well. And I hope everything is working out as far as the appointments. I'm glad to hear that. I uh, I just wanted to say that it's been over a year ago, and I don't know. My duties at the VA is my duties. It's also participating and helping veterans in any way, shape, form, or fashion that I can. We're here basically not to impress or satisfy, but we are here to amaze our veterans to let them know that we are fully supported there.
now, do you know or do you believe, as obviously, how do any of us know why decisions are made at the federal level? But do you have any reason to believe where the VA is hiring disabled veterans to meet the needs of the veteran client basin because they recognize that nobody can help a veteran like another veteran?
That's absolutely correct. And veterans helping veterans, what a mantra. And I understand because I'm a disabled vet myself, coming to the VA and having the issues that I had. Once I came aboard the VA facility and started working with them, I realized how much importance it would be to communicate that to veterans and to help them with goals, mental health, physical, psychological, in any way that I think that I can.
Well, thank you for teaching us a little bit about that. But if I may please, there's one thing that is very important to me to note is I approached Brooklyn here and I said, "Hey, my man, check it. I'd like to interview you for my podcast." And he said, "Hey, I appreciate the sentiment and thank you, but I have to get approval from up on high because I'm a federal employee. And unless you're president of the United States, you got somebody over you." So Bruce did his job and he made his inquiries with his higher ups. And he got approval from Mr. Richard Beam, the Director of Public Affairs for the VA, to give you permission for this interview. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I would just like to
Okay.
tip my hat to Mr. Beam. I've had the good fortune of meeting this gentleman on numerous occasions. When he has gone above and beyond, he's come down high from his nice office on a higher up floor at the VA, and I witnessed him addressing veterans. I saw him at one point. This amazed me. He got down on one knee and he spoke with a veteran with his hands, which is our primary means of communication in the military, because we go around the world and we're doing jobs. We don't necessarily know why it is we're doing the job, but somebody told us to do it, so we have to. And you're trying to talk to somebody, and I'll be gosh darned if the translator hasn't shown up yet. So you're just trying to convey your message. And extended palms work the same worldwide, just as they do with the VA. Is that correct, Brooklyn?
Yes, sir. Customs and courtesies.
I mean,
Yes,
would I be overstepping my bounds if I were so bold as to encourage VA administrators to possibly select a staff of highly rated VA employees who are celebrated for meeting the needs of the veterans just to offer VA professional staff, all of whom, keep in mind, these guys have their medical degree, at least 18 years of collegiate education with a focus on helping veterans. But they didn't serve in the military, so they don't speak our language, so to speak. So regularly, veterans are kind of off put in the way that VA doctors will seemingly dismiss them. I mean, can you explain to the veteran listener what is most likely occurring when this happens?
Specifically, I don't know exactly the question. Could you
Oh, no,
rephrase that?
I'm referring to the common misunderstanding between veterans who are coming to the hospital because they're in a place of medical distress. So, veterans as a whole, we're a prideful sort. We'd rather tend to our own and take care of ourselves than go and ask for help. So, if it reaches the point where we're going in to see the doctor, we're unsettled with that. And so the VA staff comes in and they ask us very professional questions. But keep in mind, we're not in the professional mentality at this point. So the offense is incidental, but it just happens. But I know in my instance with you, just your willingness to help and the way you spoke to me, I immediately noticed that you were a veteran. And as distressed as I was, the fact that another veteran was coming to help me out really took a load of pressure off my mind. And thank you so much for what you did there. I was also politely surprised to realize that Bruce recently became a permanent member of the VA. And I would just like to congratulate you again, sir. Hopefully when this edited version comes through, you're able to show it with pride to administrators, who I would hope would reach down to shake your hand in the way that I witnessed Mr. Beam shake the hands of other disabled veterans who were going to the VA for help. Just the job you guys do there is deeply appreciated. I've spoken to a few veterans actually that recognize your name, Brooklyn.
Right, right.
Yeah, for example, do you know one veteran, Mr. David Zink? Do you know that name?
Not offhand.
Well,
I instantly asked.
See,
quite
and
a,
what
quite
this
a few veterans and
exactly.
personnel on staff. I'm so busy with what I'm doing. A lot of the time, I don't have a lot of time
And
to
I commend you for that,
see.
Brooklyn, because just to fill you in, Mr. Zink, whom I consider a good friend, he was one of the veterans that would go to the VA and he would regularly have verbal conflict with VA staff. Just, not speaking the same language as it were. But I was introduced to Mr. Zink by another veteran who had seen what was happening. This veteran knew me because military ties and such. But I was introduced to Mr. Zink by this veteran. And I spoke to him and he says, "Hey, here are the problems I'm having." And I said, it's a misunderstanding. And he goes, "You think so?" I said, "Yeah, pick me up from my house. I'll go to the VA with you. We'll get it sorted out." So he did that and we alleviated the situation immediately. Mr. Zink has been going to the VA with regularity now for over 18 months without incident because he was just taught how to speak the VA language, and I just think that having more veterans on staff would be key in reducing the number of emergency callouts that I believe occur on a daily basis. And really without cause. The veteran, it's a misunderstanding almost every time. And the VA doctors, heartfelt, are doing their best, the best that they can to help the needs of the veterans. But veterans as a whole would do well to slow down and realize that they are our beneficiaries, not our yes men. Would you say that's fair?
You have a way with it.
I mean, thank you. I'm a social worker. I used to work at the VA. I'll tell you the truth, I hope to work at the VA again. I'm a social worker at heart.
I've done so many things.
Hey.
Pertaining to veterans as well as outside.
And when I was in graduate school to become a social worker, I, of course, spoke to all the other graduate students who were veterans themselves. And most every veteran I met getting a master's degree in social work, in their heart, wanted to work at the VA. It was likened by all those veterans to being a homecoming. Would you liken that to yourself? Is going to work every day? I mean, it would be why you're so highly regarded by veterans who
I'm excited every day. Who has a job that way? You get up every day, you love what you do what you love. I mean, it's a nice match.
I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to guesstimate that you have a supervisor.
I do.
I would simply say that supervisor would do well to keep you by their right side. Otherwise, you'll be their replacement. Mr. Beam is a very wise man. There's a reason he's risen to the level he has. But part of that is because Mr. Beam has a keen eye for talent. And in his heart of hearts, to him, the eye of an all-star is what works best for the veteran community. And I just greatly appreciate you coming on for this interview because you signify the first federal employee to be approved for a podcast interview. Largely because they wanted to make certain that I wasn't going to cast shade, as it were, or say something negative which seems to be so commonplace these days. But hire the right people for the right job, and you don't need to worry about getting any negative feedback, in my opinion.
Correct. We are all work in progress. We're all trying and striving to be our best.
Well, I
Every
mean,
time.
definitely, the Long Beach VA benefits more veterans than any VA in the country, arguably the world. And they do so at the highest level of care. You have the Orange County VSO, for example, who is widely regarded as the most efficient and most effective VSO in the state of California. And they're doing that job. Keep in mind, there is not a Los Angeles County VSO. So if the Orange County VSO is so good, is simply reflective of the fact they're so overworked. I had the good fortune of being in a position to help advise a countless number of disabled veterans in regards to what they can or cannot apply for with the VA. Is that a level of training that the VA provides their employees? I know that the VA doesn't deal with benefits. That's the Veterans Benefits Administration. It has its own name for all sakes.
A lot of facets of the VA.
Yeah.
I'm learning more and more each day. So.
I don't intend to put you in an awkward position where you should speak for any other agency. I apologize for any offense that may have occurred there. I will say at this point that I am very well aware that there are 3 federal agencies that tend to the needs of veterans. The Veterans Health Administration, also known as the VA Hospital, the Veterans Burial Association, or the VBA, who handles all military burials at any of the half dozen military burial sites in California. And just these 3 agencies are very confusing for the majority of the veteran population because we won't have to deal with them until we hit the wall. But just meeting you and the amount of help you were willing to provide and getting to know you, we had some amazingly personal and very impactful conversations. I just wanted to bring you on here to commend you for that.
Thank you so much.
We're veterans. We're supposed to shower our brothers with accolades on the limited occasion when we receive them. This is a personal thing for me, but I'll say it to you because it's the right time. But let us tell the listener the definition of the word valor, which is commonly portrayed on TV as some holy, gregarious action that would almost surely lead to loss of life. And oh wow, that's so impressive. But that's not what valor is. Valor is a time when a service member showed with unequivocal fact that they care more for the men they serve beside than they do for themselves. And that is why we call each other brothers and consider each other to be closer than our own biological brothers in many cases. And our man Brooklyn right here is an ideal representation of that. That he gets a job at... Were you hired by the VA because you have an amazing collegiate record, or was there something more specified? For example, something you did to earn your place at the VA.
Well, actually, I was coming to help. I was coming to give back. I didn't really worry about the title at that time. It was just basically to get in and see where I can, you know, help and participate. So I know I've had my issues. I know I've had issues communicating with